many appearances.
We did talk about the vegetable shortening slathered over my lower extremities. I thought that was kind of hot.
That's good.
No, I'm doing a panel for Master of None, the Netflix show, which was such an amazing surprise last year, and with Aziz Ansari and Alan Yang and Noel Wells and Kelvin Yu. And
So, Andy, because before we get into the shows, we just wanted to chat a little bit about all the trailers that kind of came out in a wave of promotional content that came out of San Diego Comic-Con, a place that you have a love-hate relationship with.
Like a train down from the Grantland office.
The Chloe Grace Moretz was on that train. Ronald Moore from Battlestar Galactica was on that train.
Yeah. And from Outlander. And I remember we threw back a couple of San Diego's microbrews at a Cinemax party, and then we had a burrito, and I think you went and you left. It is a worthy life goal. But in years past, at least there was, this sounds like I'm 1,000 years old, but it did seem like there may have been some reason to be there, or you would see footage that you would never see anywhere else. But, this is also, it's regular now, so that everything's stringing people along. And I think the possibilities of surprising anyone on either end are very, very small. And I think that's a shame, because that's really still, surprise is one of the reasons we still engage with thinking about Rogue One reshoots.
Yeah.
And then it's so scheduled now that Disney and Lucasfilm steered into the skid, made the reshoots a story that they would own. Basically, either they're leaking themselves or they're inviting journalists to cover the reshoot.
To overcome. But the rap coming out of Batman versus Superman was that this is a miserable, dark, oppressive, nihilistic, destructive piece of pop culture. And it's, almost at more than half a century of an investment in what's wrong with you. And to me, this sizzle reel is like, cool, we'll make Ocean's 14. Mm-hmm. And they got some relatively two very charming people in this. Just be a Wonder Woman movie instead of being part of a universe. I'm sure that there will be distractions like that, but it seems just like, it looks like they were like, what if we made a really cool spy movie with Wonder Woman?
Yeah, or they just took a lesson, the first Captain America movie did, which is basically telling a period movie, and the sort of allowing the filmmakers, in this case Patty Jenkins, to play with a whole different storytelling palette and color palette and style palette, which is not a bad idea. And she seems good. Gal, big fighter pilot hero. I mean, that's basically what he does in Star Trek too, and he's perfectly charming in that. But I think Jeff Johns, who's a guy who loves the character, who's one of the top people in DC Comics, wrote the movie with an old friend of mine, Alan Heinberg, who deeply loves it. Every movie,
yeah.
Because here's what I'm wondering: is my reaction to this trailer was like, well, okay, but is this? And we're not keeping it 1600. We're not going to put a political spin on everything on this podcast, at least not until October. But
and I guarantee you that Godzilla will fight King Kong in the next 5 years. And
he couldn't.
Shailene Woodley will be like, oh no, in that trailer, And I think it's cool. It's actually very interesting to see them double down on what a movie that has
like headline from coming out of this weekend was Max Landis is writing a Pepe Le Pew movie.
Yeah,
it's like great.
I think King Kong
just
kind
like
of
salad,
belongs in the 90s era of Jurassic Park, where there was that jump after Terminator 2 in spam, but now it's like, okay, you guys are just using this as a crutch for the fact that you need to raise the stakes. So whatever. I mean, I think it looks cool. I think the idea of making a blockbuster monster movie that uses Apocalypse Now as a visual template is dope. Howard Hawks inside of this and do really interesting, emotionally provocative, visually compelling, smart, clever stuff, then all the power to you. I mean, I think, I don't want to get into could somebody make a Rio Bravo just that they have already, but I hope that happens. I hope that if we're going to have to watch the same stories, the same sort of origin story, Challenge, Darkest Before Dawn, all the same beats that we have to watch over. Beautiful, true storytelling looks like to me.
I agree with you. I'm still completely in on the show, and I'm watching week to week. I have not watched ahead. And the only reservation I have, and I actually, it's not even fair to call it a reservation. I'm curious how this is going to be amazing. Or the scene where she's being searched this week, which was just so invasive, and her face registered all of it.
Yeah.
But this idea that, these are immigrants to the country, now this is first generation, they pay their taxes, they're doing everything right, and all the money that they're right, and all the money that they're paying in taxes, not all of it, but the money that you pay in taxes goes to these systems to prop up the with good reason, potentially the cops, the justice system, prisons, the CEOs, every pounded, that detail. And this is very accurate, for people who don't live in New York and understand how cabs work. The medallion that allows you to be a yellow cab is incredibly expensive, like 6 figures. So,
and who knows what underground economies drive the purchasing of that,
Right, and you're doing very well, choice to have a sort of taking stock, how did I get here reverie in the shower. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because he's just sitting there thinking about it, looking around. Everyone else leaves, and then he's just like, "This seems like a good place for a by myself meeting." Like,
right. It's these are moments that are like, even if they're gripping, even if they're depressing, even if they're haunting, you're like, I have to keep watching because I've just become so immersed in all of this. And I think that the Rikers thing is really yeah.
Like, they still haven't even officially been arraigned on anything, but they're in Rikers.
Yeah. So but you see what I'm saying though about, like, do you feel that slight difference from the way that it's almost like this explosion of streaming television, this explosion of production has
the FX show gave us some glimpses of that. He would make phone calls, they would visit him, they would play cards with him just to keep his spirits up or whatever. But because the ambition of the show was so much greater and the subject matter was so much broader, that wasn't the focus of it.
This is why people like comic books, is that you could kill a major character and just bring them back in 10 issues,
But I also think that the thing that I really wanted to say about Stranger Things, at least these middle episodes, and the thing that really, truly impresses me, like, it's just shocking. Have this kid wash up dead, the reaction of the kids was really painful and heartbreaking. And,
yeah, they do the full bad news relay that British crime shows do. But usually the end of every first episode of a British mystery is this family discovering that their child is
Eat it, you
lens flares and kindly seeming but very dangerous government officials. It's that pacing, and it's the when to pull the innocence and when to push the tragedy and when to put the hope forward. And you're right, it's exactly
like the performances across the board are so good. You know what else is actually really good here? The nonsense. And what I mean is the experiments and the mind control and the upside down and the
all the MK Ultra stuff. Yeah.
When the teacher explains, like, the acrobat and the flea, like, it's one of the first shows that I can think of that has really and truly embraced the possibilities and the limitations of the Netflix model. First and foremost, it is only 8 episodes. Now, I've not seen all 8, but just knowing it is not 12 and 13. This is an episodic television show. The way it weaves its B plots and C plots and D plots, where in the midst of the defeat for the kids, they get the victory over the bully. The way Winona Ryder's character, has the comeuppance with her ex-husband and the discovery of
26 vice principals or 24 vice principals episodes. I mean, they could, but
it's better, and I just feel like it's the most precious thing that you can get as someone making TV is to stumble into the creation of a world that people cannot. You're just in. That's the way things work here.
They do a nice job also of establishing that there is a movie theater in this town, but that kids can also ride their bikes in the middle of the road and not get mowed down by 16-wheelers.
70er Midrange, ja, Fazit. Keine Chance. Keine Ahnung, wie er das macht. Ist mir auch eigentlich Wumms. Das war's für mich.